You sit down to start something important, and suddenly you feel tired. Not physically, just resistant. You tell yourself you'll do it later, maybe when you feel more ready. But later never really comes. So you start asking yourself, why am I so lazy, even when I care about this? And that question stays open. It doesn't look like laziness from the outside. You think about the task often, you plan it in your head, you even imagine yourself doing it well. But when the moment comes, you hesitate. You open your phone, you reorganize something small, you tell yourself just 5 more minutes. And somehow, the day disappears. It's confusing because you're not avoiding everything. You can do easy things, comfortable things, things that don't ask much from you. But the moment something feels meaningful, you slow down, you delay, you disconnect. And over time, this starts shaping how you see yourself. I'm inconsistent. I lack discipline. I'm wasting my potential. But deep down, there's a quieter thought. What if I try and it changes who I am? That's the part most people don't notice. You're not just avoiding a task. You're avoiding what that task represents. Because some actions don't just lead to results, they lead to identity shifts. And that's where the real tension begins. So let's look at this differently. What if this isn't laziness? What if it's something your brain is doing on purpose? Not to stop you, but to protect you. Because from a psychological perspective, your brain is not designed to chase growth. It's designed to maintain stability. Your current identity, even if it's limiting, feels predictable, safe, familiar, and anything that threatens to change that identity can feel like a risk, even if that change is positive. So, instead of pushing you forward, your brain creates resistance, not because the task is hard, but because the outcome is unknown. To understand this more clearly, you need to see how your brain treats identity. Think of your identity like a system setting, not something you consciously choose, but something your brain tries to keep consistent. If you've spent years seeing yourself as someone who starts but doesn't finish, stays in the background, avoids pressure, then your brain builds a model around that. And here's the key: it will try to protect that model. This involves a concept from cognitive science called self-consistency bias. Your brain prefers actions that match your existing self-image. So when you try to do something that doesn't align with that image, like being disciplined, focused, consistent, it creates internal friction, not because it's wrong, but because it's unfamiliar. This friction feels like procrastination, discomfort, sudden loss of energy. But it's actually your brain saying, this is not who we are. Now layer something else on top of that: avoidance conditioning. Every time you delay something uncomfortable, you feel temporary relief. That relief is important because your brain learns from it. In behavioral psychology, this is called negative reinforcement. You remove discomfort by avoiding the task, and your brain rewards you for it. So the next time you face the same situation, your brain remembers. Avoiding this made us feel better, and the cycle repeats. But here's the deeper layer. It's not just avoiding the task. It's avoiding the version of you that would exist if you actually did it. Because doing the thing consistently means becoming someone new, someone with expectations, responsibility, visibility. And that version of you feels uncertain, maybe even uncomfortable. So your brain chooses something else. Stay where you are. Stay predictable. Stay safe. Even if it costs you progress. So how do you move through this without forcing yourself into more resistance? Not by trying to become disciplined overnight, but by understanding the pattern and working with it. First, reduce the size of the identity shift. Instead of thinking, I need to become a focused, consistent person, shift it to, I'm someone who shows up for 5 minutes. Why this works? Your brain resists big identity shifts, but small shifts feel acceptable. In neuroscience, this reduces threat perception in the prefrontal cortex. Real-life example. You're working on something and lose focus. Instead of thinking, this proves I'm inconsistent, you think, this is one data point. And that shift keeps you engaged. Third, interrupt the avoidance reward loop. When you feel the urge to delay, pause before escaping. Not to force action, but to notice the discomfort. Why this works? It weakens the automatic link between discomfort and avoidance. Over time, your brain stops expecting relief from distraction. Real-life example. You reach for your phone while working. Instead of scrolling immediately, you wait 10 seconds. That pause breaks the pattern. Fourth, make the future self less abstract. Right now, the version of you you're avoiding feels distant and unclear, so your brain treats it as risky. Bring it closer. Make it specific. Why this works? Clarity reduces uncertainty, which reduces resistance. Real-life example. Instead of thinking, I want to be successful, you define, I want to be someone who writes 10 minutes daily. Now your brain can process it. Fifth, allow discomfort without interpreting it. Discomfort doesn't mean something is wrong. It means something is changing. But your brain often mislabels it as danger. Why this works? When you stop interpreting discomfort negatively, it loses its power. Real-life example. You feel resistance before starting. Instead of thinking, I don't feel like it, you think, this is expected, and you continue. If you step back, all of this connects to one simple idea. You're not avoiding work. You're avoiding identity change. Your brain is trying to keep you consistent, even if that consistency is limiting. So the goal isn't to fight yourself. It's to make change feel familiar, to move in smaller shifts, to reduce threat, to stay present through discomfort. Because once the new version of you starts to feel normal, the resistance fades. So maybe you're not lazy. Maybe you've just been protecting a version of yourself that feels safe. And letting go of that version isn't easy, but it's also not something you need to force. You just need to notice it, gently, without judgment. Because the moment you stop calling yourself lazy, you start seeing what's really happening. And that awareness is where change actually begins.